Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Global Career Forum, the international online recruiting event organized for MBA students from top business schools. We welcome you today for this online session, which is a panel session on careers in consulting, and we have a pleasure to welcome PA Consulting, OEE, and ADAS, as well as Don Leslie, who will be moderating this session. As this is a live Q&A session, I invite all participants to ask your questions in the Q&A panel on the top right side, and we'll convey them to the speakers. Don, warm welcome.
Hi there. Thank you, Jana, and welcome to everybody, audience and panelists. As we settle in, can I just ask you to type into the chat box which business school you're at and which country you're tuning in to this presentation from. Now, on today's webinar, we've got three consultancies, PA, OEE, and Atos. And the representatives of these firms are all based in the UK, but they will be talking about their firm's interests and clients around the globe. Fortunately, the consulting industry is still thriving internationally, driven by things such as the rise of digital transformation or changing trade patterns as a result of disruptive trade policies. And in a sense, we echo that also here in the UK, where the industry grew by about 6% last year to just over $10 billion. And that represents, I think, about 7% of the consulting industry worldwide. We, of course, have got our own domestic problems, not least around Brexit, but let's not mention that anymore. So let's hear about the work that the three firms do and opportunities there for MBAs. And as Jana said, there'll be opportunity for questions at the end of this session. So I'm going to turn first to PA Consulting and Johnny Buckley and ask Johnny to kick us off. Over to you, Johnny.
Hey, Johnny, can I just ask you to unmute yourself?
Sure. I was muted on the computer, but not on the phone. So first of all, welcome to everyone, and thanks for dialing in today. Hopefully you can now hear me and also see the slides on the screen. I'm sure if you have some questions, I can answer those later on. So as was introduced by Don there, I work for PA Consulting, which is a consulting tech and innovation consultancy firm. If you could bring up the next slide, please, Anna, that would be great. So I'm going to run through half a dozen slides or so. I'm going to give a very quick introduction to who I am. We'll look at PA's global footprint, a little bit about our history and our structure. We'll talk something about our clients, or those that we can talk about, and then we'll get into the details of how we recruit and the employee value proposition. So in terms of my background, my name's, as I say, Johnny Buckley. I'm a managing consultant. We have 6 levels in our practice. Managing consultant is the one below partner. I'm a civil engineer and chartered engineer by background, and I studied my MBA at the University of Southampton, which I graduated from in 2016. I've had a career so far, you may have seen on the portal. Initially, I spent 10 years in the military. I then spent 7 years working in the rail industry, both in terms of infrastructure maintenance and then large construction programs. And then I joined PA Consulting 3 years ago. And my main focus within our transport, travel and logistics practice, so I focus on road, rail and the supply chain, so large construction companies, and also a little bit in defence. And when we get to talking about some of our clients, I'll explain some of those people later. So if we can move on to the next slide. So PA Consulting, you may have heard about PA or you may have not, but we are an organisation of 2,600 consultants, currently growing shortly to 3,000 as we've started a new business in Ireland. Our global revenues are, shows on the screen here, 400 million last year. Last year was actually 447 million. And as we'll describe in a minute, we're split into a number of sectors and capabilities. But we have a global footprint. We have offices in 22 different countries around the world. You can see from the list there that that's predominantly in the UK, Europe, including the Nordics, the States, in North America, and the Middle East. Of particular interest is our site in Cambridge, which is our global head of our technology centre, and we have just created a similar one in the US and also in Munich in Germany. So I mentioned earlier on, PA is a consulting, tech and innovation firm, which is quite different from most other consultancies. In fact, there are no others quite that way. So those three flavors, we do consulting as you'd expect from any consultancy house. So that could be strategy through to implementation, through to business design, process optimization, etc. But we also do a lot in technology and innovation. And the center of this is our site in Cambridge, where we have a very large R&D center, and where we design, manufacture, and launch to market a number of technologies. So some of those I can talk about less than others, but we do a lot in the military space, where we develop and manufacture components for weapon systems and electronic countermeasures for armored vehicles. We do a lot in pharmaceuticals and surgical implements, so we design and test new scalpels and other such operating equipment. We do a lot in consumer goods and manufacturing. So for those of you dialed in from the UK, you may be familiar with the likes of John Smith beer. We designed and implemented the widget that's within the John Smith beer can. Other claims to fame would be the likes of Clear Blue pregnancy tests. We designed and manufactured those, and even made the machine that puts the 3 colors in Aquafresh toothpaste. So there are some really weird and wonderful things there, ranging from high-tech defense and security and aerospace through to consumer products. So if we move on to the next slide, please. So we're the world's oldest consultancy organization. We were born during the Second World War, when we provided administrative support to the public sector at time of war, hence where PA comes from, public administration. So we've been around for over 70 years, and this roadmap shows some of the things we've developed. That John Smith's widget I mentioned is the diagram in the bottom center of a person holding a glass of beer. We've done a number of things over those years. Many products that you use in everyday life have been tested and trialed and developed by us. They just don't have the PA logo on it, and that's part of our sort of mantra of supporting our clients. Next slide, please. So I briefly mentioned that we're split into sectors and capabilities. So the sectors, there are industry teams. You'll see on the screen here there are 9 in total. So they are the ones you'd expect to see from a consultancy firm. So, for example, there's the defense and security practice. That is our biggest team. Roughly a quarter of our revenue comes through defense and security. My team, as I mentioned, is the bottom center there, transport, travel and logistics. We're the newest sector. We started 3 years ago, and we are now the 4th largest out of these sectors. So we are a rapidly growing part of the business. So we focus on road, rail, aviation, Hyperloop in Los Angeles, logistics and shipping, etc. I mentioned about healthcare, very large part of our business, especially in North America. You can see all those slides there, and I believe these slides might be shared with you afterwards, but they are also available on our website. If we move to the next slide, please. So then we have our 12 capabilities. We used to call these service lines, but you can see the different flavors here. So I mentioned the likes of strategy on the bottom right, business design on the top row there, or implementation. You can see a lot of them are around the innovative and IT-orientated service lines. That is part and parcel of our tech and innovation elements that I described earlier on. So when we recruit people, you join either one of the industry sectors or one of these capability lines as your sort of parent practice within the business. And what we do when we deliver work for our clients, one of those will take the lead. So it could be the work I do at the moment in rail. It is rail-led, but I bring in teams and people from the other service lines and capabilities. So currently my work is using business intelligence and analytics people and capability, and also people and talent. And it allows us to pull together a team that is perfectly aligned to our clients' needs and leverage the best of our organization. Okay, next slide, please. So I said I'd rattle through these slides so we can also hear about the other exciting organizations that I've dialed in today. So just a quick bit about our application process. We try to keep this as straightforward as possible, and it's as much about you finding out about PA and checking that we're right for you as it is about us finding out if you'll fit with our company. So we have an online application form which will kickstart a telephone interview with our recruitment teams. They're also based out of our Cambridge R&D site, as is our training school. We have a large training department there. So they'll interview you, get to know you, ask you some questions about what you're looking for. They can help guide you into what sector or capability is best aligned. They'll even help you shape your CV, because it's important that we get the best of your information coming forward. Depending which team you join, there are some online competency tests. When I joined, I had to do a verbal and numerical reasoning test. I don't think we do those anymore, but there are some competency-based assessments or written exercises. It all depends on what team you're joining. But once you've jumped through that, you're onto your first interview with someone like myself or my team, and we'll go through typically a competency-based interview that lasts for an hour. And a lot of it, probably 50% of it, is you guys asking us questions. Subject to a good session there, we'll write up our notes that's shared with the recruitment team, and then you'd be invited to a final interview with one of our partners in one of our offices around the world. Again, typically an hour, maybe a little longer, and that will then lead to hopefully a successful offer. I think it's really important to note here, I mentioned that we're growing, so we are seeking to double in size within a 5-year period. So our growth trajectory started 2.5 years ago. We were entirely employee owned until 2016, when Carlyle Investment Group bought a 51% stake in our business. And like any investment firm, they want to see return on investment. So they are driving us to double in size, both in terms of revenue and headcount. So that makes a really exciting time. We're on trajectory. As I said, we hit 447 million revenue last year in December. And we are looking for a lot of very capable people. We are growing rapidly and seeking to hit a headcount of 5,000 through organic and inorganic growth. So the doors are open. Okay, moving on to, I think it's almost the last slide, or second to last slide. So you might be wondering what do you get out of a career in PA? So I've sort of summarised here the top sort of light blue boxes, summarised that you can get out of it in a holistic sense. The bottom blue ones are what we expect back. So it is generally an organisation where you can grow and develop, where you can be very proud of the work that you do. You're empowered to shape your career. So it is a very autonomous and entrepreneurial business. So I joined PA after 2 careers, one in the military and one in industry, because I wanted to have the flexibility and freedom to grow myself and develop my own business, but without the fear and the nervousness of starting your own business and being entirely accountable for it. So I've joined PA and I've been given free rein to do whatever I want. So when I joined, we sold a lot in highways. We sold a lot in railway to public sector organisations, but we didn't sell anything to big construction companies in the UK and around the world. So after asking around for a short period of time, I've set that up as an entire new service line within transport, travel and logistics. So I've now given myself the grand title of Global Head of Supply Chain, and we have a number of contracts with the likes of Costain, Interserve, and various other organisations. I'm also heading up a number of service areas within Network Rail, which happens to be one of my main clients. Before I move on to what you get from salary and all that sort of stuff, I did say I'd talk about some of our clients. So 40% of our work is public sector around the world, so that could be US Department of Defence, or back in England and Britain, sorry, the British Army or Network Rail, etc. The other 60% is private firms, and it ranges from anything from global banks through to Hyperloop One in Los Angeles. I worked there a couple of years ago, so we are doing the enterprise architecture and some of the manufacturing of the pods for Hyperloop, which is really cool. It could be fast-moving consumer goods, or again, local councils and such like. We've done a lot for the likes of GlaxoSmithKline, Coca-Cola, Mars, BMW, Audi. Most large firms are clients of PA. So what do we offer back? So we have competitive salaries. You'll probably be familiar with the kind of salaries you can expect in consulting. They are pretty good. I wouldn't have joined from a high-powered job in construction to come to PA if they weren't good. And it varies, of course, by the grade that you come in at. Each grade has a car allowance, which always helps with your commuting. We have a good defined contribution pension scheme. So put a little bit of a salary in ourselves, and the company on the particular scheme I'm on triples what I put in. Our bonuses are traditionally very good in PA, so our remuneration is heavily focused on bonuses. as coming from an employee-owned business, we all reap the rewards of our business growing rapidly and doing well. We also still have an internal share scheme that's shared with Carlisle. So once a year you can buy shares, and they are looking at generating returns of 30% within 3 years. So as you can imagine, I've invested quite some money there. We offer healthcare to employees and their dependents. We have a discounted gym membership. We have a gym on site, and also chains of gyms like Pure Gym in the UK, you get for half price. And then there's a whole bunch of other optional extras like dental that you can sign up to. So as you can see, it's a really good package. I'll finish off with my final slide then. So hopefully this has been of interest to you. If you want to know more, there's an email address there that you can email. That will go to our recruitment team. They'll answer any questions, or you can express an interest. And really the slide here summarizes our mission statement, which is about PA bringing ingenuity to life. So if nothing else that you've remembered from this presentation, hopefully some points that are shown here will stay with you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Johnny. And now I'll pass the baton on to OEE with Paul Woolford and Andy Smith. Over to you guys.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you very much, Don. I'd like to introduce myself, Paul Woolford, the Operations Director at OEE Consulting, and I have with me my colleague Andy Smith, who is Operations Manager and looks after our Senior Consultant MBA recruitment program with candidates coming in from around the world. Our proposition is based on leading our clients to better customer journeys for their clients. And we are building a proposition around supporting clients get the best out of their processes, their operations, and delivering the best possible experience to their clients or to their customers to enable them to maintain those clients, but also to be more cost-effective in delivering the services. If I could ask the next slide, please, Anna. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we really focus on designing organisations that customers really want to do business with. We cross multi-sector, predominantly in financial services, but we've been in existence for 21 years now, and our client network has grown strongly over those 21 years. And people enjoy working with us. We work with them on implementations, and when they move up in an organisation or on in an organisation, they take us with them. So we, whilst predominantly in financial services, have worked with hotel groups, hospital groups, and transportation companies in recent years. Next slide, please. Award-winning business. So we are members of the MCA in the UK, the Management Consultants Association, and we've won awards through that organisation for client service and value. And we're also recognised as a top 100 employer in the UK for the type of work that we do and the way that we work with our employees and our associate team members. Year on year, we've grown 20%, so we now are a £35 million business. We've recently been acquired by the Webhelp organisation, a European organisation, a 1.3 billion euros business with 50,000 employees around the globe. And Webhelp have brought us to augment with their consulting offering around the globe and to really boost their consulting in the customer contact, customer experience space, and allow them to generate revenue on improving client service. That's going to mean that our team will grow rapidly. There are some really strong growth aspirations for the new business under the new owners, and we're going to be growing our business 20% year on year going forward, as we have done in the past, and taking our offering further afield around the globe. Next slide, please. Our organisation has changed in the last 5 years from being one centric on the UK and an operational improvement delivery. We now have 30% of our team that have come from outside of the UK and 30% of our team who are non-male. So we've really improved the diversity of our organisation. That has enabled us to bring language skills into the business to work in different territories, but also to change the face of OEE Consulting to an organisation that reflects the clients that it's working with. And those clients are now taking us around the globe in their operations, and you can see a selection of clients there that we're working with in territories outside of the UK, outside of Europe. We've currently got teams in South America, North America, Asia, as well as the UK and Europe. Next slide, please. Core to our recruitment process is understanding how a candidate would fit into our values. These values have helped us grow strong relationships and enduring relationships with our clients. And you'll see that those are values that help us deliver real improvement in our clients. We are an implementation consultancy. We'll work with an organization on its strategy, but we want to take that journey through to implementation. And many of the values that we're looking for our team members are those values that enable us to build those strong relationships and have successful implementations. And you can see a quote there from one of our clients. We become part of their team and we transfer skills to those team members, but also they enjoy the experience and want to do more in future engagements. Next slide, please. We're working across a number of areas with our clients. We have everything through from a strategic engagement where we're working with the client as to how best set up its operational strategies to meet its business strategies, right the way through to specific process challenges they may have, whether that's regulatory, whether that's quality, costs, or even capacity. So the full remit. And we bring along partners into our engagement. So we're not a technology consultancy, but increasingly we're bringing a technology offering to our clients through the use of our partners. Next slide, please. Clients that we're working with, you can see there across many sectors. Major high street brands in retail banking and insurance, but also you can see there, a flavour of some of the brands that we've been working with that are, outside of FS, that have been taken there by clients that have come out of our FS relationships. Areas for growth for us outside of financial services are going to be utility and service offerings, and increasingly in the business process outsourcing sector, partnering with our web help colleagues, but also working with those organisations that have challenges meeting the contractual terms that they've negotiated with their clients and their ability to make profit out of those contracts. We've got a good offering in that space, and that's attractive to many of the BPO outsourcers. And next slide, please. Okay, so the sort of people we're looking at to join our business are people that want to lead programs that deliver better experiences for our clients' customers. That will be through many engagements in many different areas of those businesses, but focused at the heart of delivering a better experience for the client's customers. And then my final slide here is just a way to, there was a final slide in there, your way to get to our website. So OE Consulting Careers will give you access to all of the information you need if you would be interested in joining OE Consulting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, OEE. And finally, over to Atos and Pete Wicks. Hello, Pete.
Hi, Don. It's the old mute button. Has it? Am I off mute now?
Yes, you are.
Thank you, Zana. That's good. Hi, Donna. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you to the two people before me. I found their presentations very interesting. A good selection of consultancies, I think, Don. We, again, offer another perspective on management consulting. So my name is Pete Wicks. I have been in management consulting, man and boy, probably for the last 23 years, but frankly, I've forgotten counting now. So my career has taken me through defence, health, financial services, various public sector type organisations, and some internal roles where I am until May this year, where I'm currently head of transformation in part of Atos, where I'm involved in helping to integrate a company we bought called Atos Syntel, now called Atos Syntel, for, what was it, £3.4 billion, 23,000 people, and a whole host of new capabilities coming in. So my consulting career hasn't stopped. It's still keeping me very challenged and very much stretched and very much getting into doing new things and having new experiences. But first, let me tell you about Atos, and then let's go on to talk about where Atos Consulting fits in within Atos. So if I can have the next slide, please. Perhaps that's the better one, yes. So I realise you're all MBAs. I don't normally share this slide. This is one we share with our investors, but as MBAs, I'm sure you're into numbers and ratios, so I thought, well, why not? Let's give this one a go. So Atos is a large, very large IT company. I'm having to get used to it. I've been with Atos a good few years. We've doubled at least in size in the last 10 years, and we continue to grow. As I've mentioned, we've just had an acquisition as well. So we're about 110,000 people this year, and we have just sold off another business which we've grown from scratch, which takes about another 20,000 people who will be running themselves very independently in the future. We're about 110,000 people and 11 billion euros turnover this year. You can find us in 70 countries. So by that I mean we have offices in 70 countries. We obviously operate in most of the countries in the world by flying people around. We are very strong in cloud services as a technology business, and like all IT companies, we have a good blend of offshore employees and onshore employees. Part of my role, a quirky part of my role in the UK, is making sure that we operate as one big happy family. So we have joint events with our offices in Pune in India. Also, we have capabilities in Poland, where I spent a year out there, and the UK. So we run joint events. So we try and foster this family feel across what is a very large company indeed. I won't read the rest of the numbers off there for you. I'm sure those of you who have sped read an interest have done so. So that's Atos in numbers, but what do we actually do? So if I can go on to the next slide now. It's a remarkably similar slide to Johnny's slide, first of all. We operate in a number of industries. We don't operate everywhere. The world is too big for us. But we're big in healthcare. As you can see, 1,000 major hospitals across Europe. If you come to the UK, if you go up to Scotland, all the IT systems, for example, for Scottish National Health Service, Atos is quietly behind that. We have big capabilities in energy and utility, and some nice names there. I've resisted the temptation to put logos on the screen. As a big company, we have a number of big logos, as you'd expect. Telecoms, media and technology, we are into. If you, again, are in the UK, or if you're familiar with the British Broadcasting Corporation, if you stream programs legally or otherwise from them, then you can thank Atos. We provide the pre-streaming services. We provide a lot of the broadcasting services. And if you watch the Olympics in London, that would have been Atos not only organising the Olympics from an IT perspective, all the systems, all the visas, and we were also broadcasting all the TV rights. So we have some absolutely fascinating parts of our business going on. We're in retail, logistics and transport. So various train companies, we provide the ticketing behind them. Very quietly and successfully. Public sector and defence is one of our bigger areas. We're strong in defence in quite a number of countries in Europe, less strong in America, but hopefully that will change, and very strong locally in lots of public sector organisations of a whole variety. In manufacturing, again, we have a presence there. We're very strong, particularly in Germany, in manufacturing. And for example, in Austria, we have a factory. A lot of people talk about manufacturing and the Internet of Things and how things could change. We've gone one step further. With an Austrian university, we've set up our own factory. It makes bicycles, but it uses advanced techniques, and we use that to demonstrate the art of the possible, what can be in the future. And in financial services and insurance, you can see we're 13 of the 20 leading banks. We help to serve them, along with others, of course, and over half of the largest insurance organisations. So Atos is a big, sprawling organisation. We are everywhere, and very few people notice us, but there's an awful lot that goes on that Atos is quietly behind. And as an IT company, it's quite an exciting IT company. But where does management consulting fit into it? So if we go on to my next slide, essentially, every opportunity that any IT services company have starts with a business conversation. So we focus on organisations that really want to grab the opportunities that are coming thick and fast now in what is vaguely called the digital age. So I'm talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, process robotics, digital workplace, etc., etc. There are a whole host of capabilities being thrown as industry, as opportunities and as disruption factors for them. So we focus on those organizations that want to make a change, and our clients have an absolute appetite for making a change. So for one utilities company, we are working with them on a 3-year program to fundamentally change the way they relate to their customers, to change all their IT systems to make them best-in-class, state-of-the-art type IT systems. And if it feels like it's all very IT-ish, there are people involved in this as well. So consulting will be scoping out what the business requirement is, taking the customer by the hand and leading them through the entire transformation process going through. Can I have the next slide, please? So what do we do in consulting? We do a number of things. You can see here 12 different areas that we specialize in. Some of them as MBAs will be very familiar to you. So like digital strategy and business design is what it says on the tin. What the hell are we going to do and how the hell are we going to get there? I think it's my summary of the strategy. Writing business cases, supporting our clients in arguing the case through the boards, that will be what consulting get involved in. Customer experience and digital marketing. We have a team with a lead-in soccer club, and the soccer club has about 5 million followers around the world, and they actually engage with about 20,000 of them. So how do they change that and have a meaningful relationship with the 5 million, not the 20,000? So that's a nice nebulous business problem we get involved in. Digital workplace, how to work more efficiently with all these wonderful tools you have, including WebEx. Digital organization, how do we organize ourselves as a business to take advantage of this? How do we carry our people in through what are very disruptive and disturbing times? Next one, digital process excellence. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And then we come on to analytics, as I've alluded to, automation and intelligence. We have tie-ups with Google, so we run Google's artificial intelligence labs to take our clients through the sheer potential of artificial intelligence. We have labs, as I've alluded to, for connected technologies and blockchain, so we can take our clients through how that's going to impact them at a business sense. And the great joy of Atos as a management consultant is you can follow the conversation through from scoping out the business problem, scoping out the solution, and then pass it through into the rest of Atos to deliver it at scale if they want to. We also have a technology capability within consulting as well, so we have more than a nebulous grasp of consulting. I have colleagues that know it in depth and they sit in consulting as well. We can help people moving onto the cloud, which is a big issue for a lot of people. Information, governance, risk compliance, again, is becoming a very big issue. How do you keep your data secure? How do you keep your suppliers' data secure? How do you keep your people secure is all in that mix, as indeed is the identity and access management. How do you make sure you're open and free to do business with everybody whilst keeping yourself very protected? So in consulting, we have a number of themes that we focus on. We take those themes from a business perspective, drive out the business issue, recommend a solution, and very probably, but not always, it will be delivered by Atos or a number of our large partners. So that's roughly what we do. It's kept me entertained for 22, 23 years now. The question is, how can you get involved? So we look to employ about 400 hires each year. That is the graduate and MBA type hires. We obviously employ other people in other ranges in much larger numbers. And generally each year we offer about 1,000 internships for people that don't really know, but would like to find out more and get involved and get some experience. So those are the numbers we're looking at for this year. Globally, as I say, we have offices in many companies of the world. The hotspots for us are France, Germany, Benelux, which in Atos terms also includes the Nordics, UK, obviously Poland and South America. You might ask where the US is for that. The simple reason is we've just bought Atos Syntel, which is a large American company, so we're not planning to recruit there too aggressively this year. What I would say, though, is if there's an Atos office near you, it's always worth making contact with them to see if they're recruiting more locally. But the big numbers are in those countries. And we are looking at all technical areas, and I've just been through the types of things that we get involved in. So if you feel you have skills, experience, or just a burning appetite to get involved in it, then we would be interested in you. And how do you get involved? Well, we are at a number of university recruitment fairs and business school recruitment fairs as well. I don't think we've got a list of where you guys come from. But the easiest way is to approach your local Atos company, and the easiest way to get a hold of them is through our website, and there will be a subsection there called Careers. So I think I'll hand over to Don now, but just say you've got 3 very different organisations here. I'd encourage you to explore opportunities in all of them. Back to you, Don.
Pete, thanks very much, and thank you other panelists for explaining what your consultancy does. Now, I've got some questions coming in. We've got to think about 10 minutes or so before we have to wind up. So I'm going to ask each of the panelists to jump in as they wish to answer these questions. And the first one I've got here is, bearing in mind that most of the MBA students who are on this webinar do not have previous consulting experience, what is it that you're looking for on a CV apart from the obvious academic success and work experience? So who would like to answer that?
Yeah, I can go first if you like that. So yeah, we've been, as I say, been recruiting heavily, and I've given advice to a lot of people recently, both from people I've worked with and even my next door neighbour. A few metres away from me as we speak, he might be joining us as a partner. So the advice I've given to all of them is we're looking for three things. So first of all, it's the experience. So most people joining PA had at least one career. Some have had 2 or 3 or 4, but we predominantly recruit in that middle rank of having had a few years in a business. So experience. Secondly is probably some ability to, some commercial ability with selling. We have a mantra that everyone in PA sells, right down from the CEO at the top to the newest analyst. And that comes in many different shapes and guises. So when I joined, I'd done engineering tendering. It's not quite selling, it's kind of winning work, and that helped. So the ability to understand the commercial business. And then lastly, your network. So what's the black book of names and people's contact details that you've worked with at whatever level in other businesses, whether they are senior execs who will buy work or people that in 10 years' time will be the buyers. We want to know your network that you bring with you, because everyone is involved in that selling and that building the business. And we have a big drive for both your internal networking, who you know in our business, so who will, you can work with, and who you know externally that you're going to drive forward growth through PA.
So I have a different answer to Johnny, which I suspect is quite scary for those people that are taking their MBA and have no depth of work experience. So don't be put off. Experience is good, networks are good, I'm not disagreeing with any of that, but we also look for your personality. So management consulting is often quite nebulous, the problems aren't well defined. If they were easy, the clients would have solved them themselves, so they're always quite challenging. So we're looking for people that are capable of coping with nebulous situations and can provide a very structured approach to it. We also look for good team players as well. Nothing is achieved as individuals in consultancy, you all work as teams. So there's the personality side of it, as well as you said, Don, the academic prowess, etc.
And Paul can perhaps follow up with just a couple of other examples there. So our value set is very important to us, so we're looking for people that share our values. But I would say the most important consulting skill is your ability to form relationships with people. Consulting is a relationship business, and we're looking for people that can form great relationships in our assessment process. Clearly some experience will help, but really it's about understanding you as a person, your behaviours and your relationship building skills.
And I think I'll just add one more thing there, Andy, from OE. I think it's a case of understanding your CV, your experience, and how that can translate to the businesses that you're applying to. So do your research on those businesses, find out what it is they're looking for, and what have you got in your CV that actually that business will be interested in. So for us, a lot of our work is improvement. You didn't have to have worked in an improvement role. You could have worked in HR and improved a recruitment process, but it's that type of thought process that we're looking for. And if you do your research, you can find out what businesses are looking for and then pull out the relevant experience.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Here's another one. What type of onboarding, training and ongoing support do you provide to incoming MBAs?
I'm happy to go first on this one, and I'm sure we will all have a development program. OE operates a consultant development program which has a mix of classroom-based training, our own training. We also bring in some external providers for some training, and we're working with the MCA at the moment to look at the chartered status for consultants, which is a professional badge that the industry has been looking for some while now. And we expect, and I do know that the other companies represented on this call are also part of that initiative as well, is looking to ensure that the professionalism of consulting is matched by some certification, qualification, and seen in the public domain. And we're always looking to ensure that our consultant development framework assists people with moving towards that level of professional capability.
Sure, if I can add to that one then. Our onboarding, our pipeline and onboarding process is something I'm generally proud of. So I've worked for a number of companies, and when I joined PA, it was definitely the best experience I've had. To the extent that my current clients, I took them to our onboarding team, and we had a workshop of how we do it, and they actually joined in on part of it, and they are now looking to emulate that with their business, which is great. So the pipeline experience through a recruiting team, they look after the people coming through. You then go on to onboarding. So depending on what grade you come in at, if you come in at the sort of, you've just finished your undergraduate degree, so you're in your early 20s and you're coming in as an analyst or a consultant analyst, you'll go on to a 2-week onboarding program. It starts off with, depending where you're on the world, but if you're UK-based, you go to Cambridge. If you're US-based, you go to one of the offices there. And you do a 2-day onboarding process, which talks about the business, where we've come from, some of the things I've described. There's some consultancy exercises. We introduce people to the consultancy model, how our business operates, the commercial elements. And then they would go on to a pro bono piece of work with different clients, where we do a week and a half's worth of consultancy for them. So in the UK, the current team is off with Help for Heroes, a charity that looks after injured servicemen who've been injured in conflicts around the world. They're looking to set up the next one with NASA in Florida. So there's some really cool organizations you can get involved in, both engineering or charity or FES or whatever. And then we move into the sort of ongoing support once you get to your practice. So on arrival at your team, there's an onboarding process and a pamphlet gives you all the information you need to know. You're assigned a line manager and a buddy. So your buddy is someone probably of the same grade or similar that you can ask those questions you don't ask your line manager. And then you go through a series of training courses we're delivering to clients. So we have 3 levels of passport, experienced and expert. And in whichever domain you're in, there's various courses, and you go and attend residential courses, and some of them are modular online. And depending which courses you choose, it could take 18 months before you're sort of fully swept up with all the things you might want. Sometimes it's 3 months, but there's that ongoing continuous support once you're in the business.
Thanks. Pete, do you want to add anything?
I probably couldn't summarise ours so succinctly. We vary around the world. I think there is oodles of training available for people. We do have an induction training course, but generally our approach is to put people straight out onto engagements and to give them all the support they need to develop their skills in consulting, and we follow that up with point training as and when they need it. So I think we don't have a 6-month induction or anything like that. We try and get people experience with the clients as fast as we can, and we find for us that works really quite well.
Thanks, Pete. We're almost out of time, so I'll just ask one last quick question, and whoever wants to jump in on it, great. What's the single most useful piece of advice you can give an MBA who wants to join your firm?
Be yourself. I think because I believe, and I probably would view be shared around the table, that consulting is a relationship business. You need to be able to show yourself and demonstrate your personality, and ensure that you're the sort of person that can be seen as someone easy to build relationships with, and engaging. That would be my most significant piece of advice.
Thanks, Paul. Anyone else?
I would add, be humble. Humble is to know your place. As management consultants, you can be deceived into thinking that you are really most important because you're invited into client accounts. You're very privileged to share their problems, get to see information the other employees won't see. Always be humble. Always be aware that it's a privilege to be a consultant. I think that applies anywhere. And don't let your ego get to you.
Yeah, and just to round it off, I mean, I think both those are both really, really valid points, especially like the one about being humble. That's really important to be able to bed in with your clients in that way. I guess if I was to add anything to it, I'd say about being curious, that mindset of wanting to meet new people and more people, whether it's in the business you're joining or the clients, and understanding what makes things tick, you know, how do processes, how do business, how do things work and operate, and then that'll help you identify the problems and then the root causes and the solutions. So curiosity both in how the world works and how people work.
Thank you, guys. Big thank you to PA, to OEE, and to Atos. And if you're interested in pursuing matters with them, and I hope you will be, you can get the contact information from the slides. So MBAs, no matter what you choose to do after business school, make sure you study hard, enjoy yourself, and good luck. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much, Don. Thank you to the speakers for your time today. As promised, the recording of this session will be on the event website within a few hours. Thank you again.